Hi friends, good morning and welcome back. This is CA Devang Kothari and we have been learning CA final subject of costing. Now, last session we had introduced one topic called as activity based costing. We are in chapter number 1 and let me remind you, in practicals of chapter 1 we are just revising some of your CA intermediate concept. One concept from intermediate level that we started revising yesterday was about activity based costing. What was that activity based costing? Chalo, let us have a recap. You remember overheads? Overheads are added to the product cost by making an absorption rate. Now there were two methods of making an absorption rate. One is called the traditional absorption costing method. New method now is called as the activity based costing method. In case of traditional method, your absorption rate is made as a single rate for all items of overheads. Yes, so for all the overheads in my company, I make a single absorption rate, that is traditional method, and it means that in that single absorption rate, all overheads are absorbed based on hours, machine hours or labor hours. Yes, that was your absorption costing method. But activity based costing method tells something different. The basic presumption under activity based costing method is that all my overheads are not depending on hours. All the items of overheads, look, overheads contains hundreds of items of cost. All these items of cost may not depend on hours. There will be certain items of cost which depend on factors other than labor hours and machine hours. Yes, certain factors other than labor hours and machine hours, like overheads, like machine setup cost or ordering cost, or say supervisory cost. Some such examples we discussed yesterday. So if my certain items of cost depend on factors other than hours, then at least for these factors you make an absorption rate separately for each such item of cost. Activity based costing was the method where you make a separate absorption rate for every component of cost. Plus, for each such absorption rate, the base that you use will be different. All absorption rates are not made based on hours. You make the absorption rates based on different factors. That factors were called as the cost driver. Yes, so what we called as absorption rate in traditional method, now in ABC method it is named as cost driver rate. The way you calculate the rate was still the same. In traditional absorption costing method, you calculated the rate by taking budgeted overheads divided by budgeted base. Now under activity based costing method, that rate is now called as cost driver rate, but the calculation part is similar. It is still budgeted overheads divided by budgeted base. This time the budgeted overheads will be activity wise, so we call that as activity cost pool, and the base is now called as the cost driver. So my formula becomes cost driver rate is equal to the activity cost pool divided by the cost driver. Then we discussed various examples of cost driver, that in which kind of activity what would be the cost driver. Yes, we'll practice that in the calculations that we do today. So today's session we are doing all calculations pertaining to activity based costing. But I hope you remember my discussion in the yesterday's session that why is ABC method better than the traditional method. Yes, to understand the reason why is ABC better, if you remember, I had given you this example. Just I'll give a short recap of that example. You saw in this example that if I have two products, product A and product B, then out of these two products, product A requires 6 hours of production, product B requires 4 hours of production. So the production time taken more is in product A. So as per traditional method, if product A takes more time, so product A will be given more cost. But your activity based costing method says different. Activity based costing method says that not necessary that if the product takes more time, it will have more overheads. Because I showed you in this example that out of my total overheads 1 lakh, all the components of that overheads did not depend on hours. Ordering cost depends on number of orders that I make. Machine setup cost depends on number of setups, number of batches that I produce. Now, even though product A uses more production time, but my overheads are not production related overheads, my overheads depend on other factors. So even if product A requires more production time, but product B is requiring more number of purchase orders, product B is requiring more number of batches, then accordingly product B will be having more overhead cost. Yes, this will happen only if you follow activity based costing method. Yes, this was the reason why ABC method is a better method. Done? Yes. Okay. Also, this was a short recap of what we did in the last session. Now going further, well, we need to practice certain calculations, and I had told you last that the calculations will be always done like this. My calculations will always happen like this, that traditional method, you'll be asked to calculate the rate, and based on that rate you find the product cost. Even in ABC method, you first find the rate, and using that rate we find the product cost. Yes, we'll do that in question number 1. So come to your book, page number 1.23. Page number 1.23, question number 2. Again, in this question, if you notice, and on the next page, I have already given you some ready formats. Only first question I have given you some ready formats so that you can understand the question and spend more time in understanding the question rather than drawing the tables and lines. Yep. Notice, we are discussing question 2 on page number 1.23. Okay. The following information provides details of cost, volume and cost drivers for a particular period in respect of ABC Limited for products XYZ. You're given details of product X, Y and Z. My company produces 3 different products X, Y and Z. Your production units are given. Production and sales units for all of them is given. Raw material usage units is given 5, 5 and 11. Okay. Direct material cost rupees is given 25, 20 and 11. Acha. Direct material cost rupees you are given. So this 25 rupees is the material cost of product X. Does it mean that 25 is the cost for 1 unit of X, or does it mean that 25 is the cost for 1 unit of raw material? Let me differentiate like this. Say this data here shows that 1 unit of X requires say 5 kgs of material. Look, for our explanation clarity, for better understanding in my explanations, I will assume that raw material quantity is measured in kgs. Look, otherwise you will get confused. So just to avoid confusion, this is what I do. My production quantity, look, this production units that you are given, production units means the finished goods. So if the units are units of finished goods, I will let it be in units. But then raw material usage units you are given. So this raw material usage, if it is raw material units, if this is raw material units, then raw material units I will not measure in units. Let me say it is measured in kgs. Look, I am not changing the question here, but I am just giving you a general set of wordings for my explanations, that throughout all my explanations in this entire subject, remember this, that during my explanation, whenever I say units, means I am talking about finished goods, and whenever I say kgs, means I am talking about raw material. Because look, in the different questions you will get finished goods quantity in the question, also you might be given material quantity in the question also. So to differentiate that, I will speak like this. Whenever I say units, it means I am talking about finished goods. When I say kgs, it means I am talking about material. So over here this 5 is the quantity of raw material, so that 5 is the kgs of raw material. This means that 1 unit of product X, 1 unit of finished goods X requires 5 kgs of raw material. Similarly, 1 unit of finished product Y, 1 unit of finished product Y requires 5 kgs of raw material, and 1 unit of finished product Z requires 11 kgs of raw material. Done. But then the material cost that you are given here, 25, 20 and 11. Now there is one confusion here, that this 25 rupees, is that 25 rupees per kg of material, or is that 25 rupees per unit of finished goods? Meaning that 25, is that the cost of one final unit of product X, or is that 25 the cost of 1 kg of raw material? How will I know? Well, look at the wordings. This is where the wordings will help you. If the wordings in the question say this is material cost, material cost, if it says, meaning it is not per kg, it is per unit of the finished goods. If it was per kg, it would be called as material price. Understand that difference. Material price, the word price means it is for 1 unit of material. But if it says material cost, meaning it is for 1 unit of finished goods. Here 25 rupees is 25 per unit, but you might get confused that it is per unit of what? Is that 25 per unit of material, or is that 25 per unit of finished goods? Is that 25 per unit of material? Per unit of material means, in my language, per kg of material. So your confusion is that 25 here, is that per kg of material, or is that per unit of final goods? Answer, I say this 25 is not per kg of material, that 25 is per unit of final product. How do I know? Well, you know that because they are using the word cost. If they use the word price, if 25 is the material price, raw material cost, no, if it is given as raw material price, the word price means it is per kg of material. Done? Yes. In fact, over here, I can show you another way to find that out. I can show you another way to conclude that. Notice, if, for example, if I consider that 25 as per kg of material, if I consider this 25 as per kg of material, then to find the total material cost, what I need to do? Well, to find the total material cost, I should take 25 rupees for 1 kg of material. How many such kgs do I need? I need 5 such kgs. I need 5 such kgs for 1 unit of X. And how many such units of X am I making? I am making 30,000 units of X. So to find the total material cost, I would have to do, what I would have to do is 25 per kg into 5 kgs for 1 unit of X into 30,000 units of X. 25 into 5 into 30,000. Let me show that here. 25,000. Yes, I have an on-screen calculator to show you the calculation. 25 per unit per kg into 5 kgs required and into 30,000 units makes that total 37,50,000. So this already makes the total as 37,50,000. It cannot be true. Why not true? Because if the total of product X material cost itself is 37,50,000, it is impossible, because the overall total material cost given here is only 12,38,000. Do you understand that? Yes. So imagine if you consider that the material cost is here per kg, then my total cost of X plus Y plus Z will not match with 12,38,000 given. Hence, that assumption would be wrong. That assumption would be wrong, that the material cost given, it is not per kg. Rather, what material cost is given here, it is per unit of Y. If It is per unit of your final product. Let us try with this. So if it is per unit of final product, meaning 25 is the material cost for 1 unit of X. How many such units of X am I producing? 30,000. 25 into 30,000. 25 per unit into 30,000 units makes it 7,50,000. Apart from that, 1 unit of Y has cost of 20,000 such units you make. 1 unit of Z has cost of 11 and 8,000 such units you make. Multiply, add them up, let's see. So for X, 25 per unit into 30,000 units, 7,50,000. I'll put that as memory plus. Then for Y, 20 per unit into 20,000 units, 4 lakhs. Again, I put that memory plus. And Z, 11 per unit into 8,000 units, 88,000. Put that memory plus. So total memory recall. Okay, my calci has some mistake. Once again, 25 into 30,000. 20 into 20,000 and 11 into 8,000. Okay, that on-screen calci has some problem. We'll try out on the Desi calculator. These ones, 25 into 30,000. You can try in your calculators. So 7,50,000 plus 20 into 20,000, 4 lakhs plus 11 into 8,000. Yes, it matches with 12,38,000 total over here. So the total material cost you therefore get here 12,38,000. Done. Yes. This is how I conclude that the material cost given here, it is per unit of the final product, not per kg of material. But that at least makes you realize that when details are given in the question, your details might be given for kgs of material or might be given for units of finished goods. Done? Yes. Okay. Similarly, further you are given labor hours. Dekho. You're given labor hours as for X, Y and Z, and that hours are given is for 1 unit of X, 1 unit of Y, 1 unit of Z. 1 unit of X requires 1.33 hours. So 30,000 units of X will consume total 1.33 into 30,000. That is almost 40,000 hours you need for X, plus 2 hours are needed for 1 unit of Y, 20,000 such units, so another 40,000 hours you need for Y, and 1 hour for Z for 8,000 units, 8,000 for Z, 40, 40 and 8, total 88,000 is the total labor hours. Done? Yes. Similarly, machine hours are also given, this and the total. Okay? These are all the basic details that you are given. Further, direct labor cost you are given. Again, you notice they are using the word cost. In case of labor also they are using the word cost, not the word rate. So the labor cost that you are given here 12, 8 and 6. Again a question arises that this 12, 8 and 6, is that the labor cost per hour of labor or is that the labor cost per unit of final product? Well, same logic, it is not per hour. What you are given here is per unit of the final product, because if it was per hour, then they would not name that as labor cost, they will name that as labor rate. In case of material, per kg is called as material rate or material price. In case of labor, per hour is called as the labor rate. This is not labor rate, this is labor cost. So this is the cost for 1 unit of X, 1 unit of Y, 1 unit of Z. Done? Yes. Remember, like I told you yesterday, that for every product, direct material cost is already given. Direct labor cost is also already given for each of your products. But overhead cost you need to find for each of the products. To find that overhead cost, we are doing all these efforts. Yes. Then further, next you are given number of production runs, you are given number of deliveries, okay, you are given number of receipts, and you are given number of production orders. Why are these things given? Number of production runs, number of orders, number of deliveries, number of receipts. Why are these things given? Well, these things that you are given, these last four items that you have, indicate what? These last four items indicate cost driver. It will be used under the ABC method. You are told the number of production runs as 3, 7 and 20 for X, Y and Z. Total number of production runs 30. Similarly, number of deliveries you are given for each of the product and the total number of receipts, number of production orders, all that will be used as cost driver. Further, you're told about overhead costs. You're told that overhead cost is under these categories. You have setup cost, machining cost, receiving, packaging, engineering and the total. And you notice that your overhead cost is given under 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different components, and you're also given the total overhead cost 18,48,000. Yes, so under traditional method you will use the total overhead cost divided by total base, single rate you will make. But under activity based costing method, instead of making a single rate for total overheads, you will make a separate rate for each activity involved in the company. You are already given here that 5 activities are involved in the company. Done? Yes. Okay. Read the required part. Point A. It says compute the product cost using a traditional volume related costing system. Traditional method, old method. Based on the assumption that all overheads are recovered on the basis of direct labor hours. All overheads, meaning entire total, is recovered based on labor hours. So think, if that entire overheads 18,48,000 is recovered based on labor hours, so your absorption rate will be total overheads divided by total labor hours. Total overheads 18,48,000 and total labor hours of the company. You have here total labor hours total 88,000. So all you have to do is total overheads 18,48,000 divided by total labor hours 88,000 gives you rate 21 per hour. 21 becomes your absorption rate by traditional method. Done? Yes. And using this absorption rate, you need to find the product cost. They're asking you to compute product cost using that traditional method. Okay, that I will show in part A of the answer. Part B of the answer, I keep that pending. We'll discuss that later after discussing part C. That part B is something new. But part C is asking you to compute product cost using activity based costing. What will be the difference there? Well, activity based costing meaning you will make separate absorption rate for each activity. How many activities in my company? 5 activities: setup activity, machining, receiving, packaging and engineering. These 5 activities. But you remember that the main crux of activity based costing method is that you need to consider a separate base for each such activity. You need to consider a different base in each such activity. Let us learn which base should I use for which activity here. Say for a setup activity, I will make absorption rate based on what? Look at the details that you have. Out of all the details given in the question, what can I use for a base of setup activity? You saw the list of examples I gave you yesterday. Machine setup cost should be based on a number of times I set up the machine. Number of times I set up the machine will be same as the number of production runs. So my setup cost will be taken based on a number of production runs. Okay. Next you have machining cost. Machining cost, yes, it will depend on machine hours only. My setup cost, if the setup cost depends on production runs, machine overheads will depend on machine hours itself. Receiving overheads, what should be the cost driver for receiving overheads? Well, if you see the details, there is only one related thing given, that is number of receipts. So okay, receiving overheads will be taken based on number of receipts. Packaging overheads can be based on what? Well, you are also given number of deliveries. Number of deliveries that might be related to packaging. So my packaging cost will be taken based on number of deliveries. And finally, engineering cost, only one item remains. For engineering cost, only one factor remains, that is number of production orders. Look, engineering cost is like a designing cost. And how many times will I have to do designing of the order? Well, every time I get a new production order, I will have to design for that order. Yes, I'll have to make a new design for every order every time I get a new production order. So my engineering cost might be based on production orders. So 5 activities, and for each of the 5 activities we decided what should be the base, what should be the cost driver, and we will make absorption rate separately for each such cost driver. We'll do that when we do activity based costing method. Now, as per the wordings, as per the required part in the question, they want us to solve the question 3 times. But part B, I am keeping it pending for now. So as of now, they want us to solve the question 2 times. Part A, they're asking by traditional method. Part C, they're asking by activity based costing method. Okay, we'll do that. Chalo. I've already given you some format of calculation. Just notice there. As per traditional method, you first find the absorption rate. Use that rate to find the product cost. How do I find absorption rate? Finding absorption rate, same old method. We budgeted overheads divided by budgeted base. But as per the question, what is this company taking as budgeted base in a traditional method? They have told you that as per a traditional method, they are taking all overheads on the basis of direct labor hours. So my budgeted overheads will be divided by budgeted labor hours. Budgeted overheads that I take here will be total, which is 18,48,000 divided by budgeted labor hours given in the question, 88,000 hours. So 18,48,000 divided by 88,000 hours gives you 21. 21 per labor hour becomes your budgeted absorption rate. And using this rate, we need to find the product cost. Acha, for finding product cost, I already showed you that direct material for each unit of XYZ is already given. Direct labor cost for each unit of XYZ is already given. So if that is already given, take that directly in my product cost. Overheads will add based on the absorption rate. So direct material for XYZ is already given. Direct materials for XYZ is already given as 25, 20 and 11. Direct labor for each of the product XYZ is already given 8, 12 and 6. But overheads is added to product cost based on absorption rate. So my absorption rate is now 21 per labor hour. Overheads will be rupees 21 per labor hour into labor hours of XYZ. What is the labor hours of XYZ given? Well, for XYZ, the labor hours you are given over here like this: 1.33, 2 and 1. This shows that 1 unit of X requires 1.33 hours of production time. 1 unit of X requires 1.33 hours of production time, and each hour of production is costing me 21 rupees overheads. So my total overheads for 1 unit of X will be 21 per labor hour into 1.3333. 1.3333 into 21 makes it 27.999 something, that is 28, is my labor cost for 1 unit of X. Similarly, 1 unit of Y requires 2 hours of production time. Each hour of production is costing me 21 rupees labor. So 21 into 2, 42. And 1 unit of Z requires 1 hour of production time, and each of that 1 hour is costing me 21 rupees. So total 21. Add them up, that gives me total cost. So for X, 25 plus 8 plus 28 makes it 61. For Y, 20 plus 12 plus 42 makes it 74. And 11 plus 6 plus 21 makes it 38. 61, 74 and 38 per unit is my product cost of XYZ. Done? Yes. So this was my traditional method, your first method. Second, let us talk about activity based costing method, ABC method. Under ABC method, first you need to find the cost driver rate, and you know that this time your rate will be calculated separately for each component of cost. You have 5 components in your cost like this: setup cost, machining cost, receiving cost, packaging cost, and engineering cost. I'm making separate columns for each of them. Now under each column you need to put first the activity cost pool, meaning the total cost. Total setup cost that you are given is rupees 30,000. Total machining cost you are given is 7,60,000. Receiving cost 4,35,000. Packaging is given 2,50,000. And total engineering cost 3,73,000. These are your total activity cost pool. In that you divide the cost drivers. So this activity cost pool divide by cost driver. For setup activity, what should be the cost driver? I told you setup cost depends on the number of times you run the production. That is number of production runs. Number of production runs. Search out in the question. You are given on the previous page number of production runs as 3, 7 and 20. Total is 30. Which one will you divide? Product wise or total? Naturally total, because the setup cost that I have written here, 30,000, that pertains to entire company. So the number of production runs that I divide here will also be the total production runs of entire company. That is 30 runs, total 30 production runs. Machining overheads should be based on what? Machining activity will be based on machine hours, and in the question your total machine hours is given 76,000 hours. Receiving activity we discussed should be based on number of receipts. Total you are given 270 receipts. Packaging should be based on number of deliveries. Number of deliveries you are given total 32 deliveries. And engineering cost will be based on number of orders, which total you are given as 50 orders. This would give you your cost driver rates. Yeah. So now you divide, what you get here is called as cost driver rates. Cost driver rate in terms of rupees. So my setup cost is costing me 30,000 divided by 30, that is rupees 1,000. 1,000 per what? This 1,000 per production run. Look, when you express your cost driver rate, please do not only write the number, you have to write the unit of measurement there. Because I've told you since yesterday that for activity based costing method, the unit of measurement which I use in the rate is different. Because it is different, you have to mention what is the unit of measurement in each case. So for setup cost, my unit of measurement is per production run. Machining cost 7,60,000 divided by 76,000, that is 10 rupees. But that 10 rupees is per what? It is 10 rupees per machine hour. Receiving cost 4,30,000 divided by 4,35,000 divided by 270 makes it 16.11. Sorry, it is 1611 point something, but that 1611 will be per what? It will be 1611 per receipt. Similarly, packaging cost will be per delivery 2,50,000 divided by total 32, so 7812.5 per delivery. $7,812 per delivery, and engineering cost will be based on number of production orders 3,73,000 divided by 50 orders is 7460 per production order. And then using these cost driver rates, we will then find the product cost. Done? Yes. Well, product cost calculation I will show you after some time. First, I need you to copy down the rest of the workings. Rest of the workings you copy down right from the first method, method A, traditional method here. Start with this. You already have the formats ready. Shouldn't take more time just to copy the workings. Please do that fast. Yes, we'll scroll. Yes, please, done with that. So these rates that I get are my cost driver rate. What will I do with these rates? These rates are now used for adding overheads to my products. Three products I have, X, Y and Z, and for these three products direct material is already given, remains the same, 25, 20 and 11. Direct labor is already given, that also remains the same, 8, 12 and 6. Yes, but overhead costs I now need to add based on these absorption rates. Yes, so overhead costs I will now add based on those absorption rates. This time, if my cost driver rates, if my absorption rates are 5 different rates like these, then my overheads cost will be added to the product under 5 categories. Under 5 categories. So my first category of overheads that I add will be the overheads of setup activity. Second will be the machining activity. Then you have the receiving activity, packaging activity and engineering activity. After adding all 5 categories of overheads, then I will get my total product cost. My setup overheads will be added based on the cost driver rate of setup activity. Your setup activity gave rate of 1000 rupees per production run. I'll use that rate here. So my setup cost for XYZ. Look, first I found the setup cost rate. Now using that rate, I will add setup cost to product X, product Y and product Z. So my setup cost rate I found was rupees 1000 per production run. Rupees 1000 per production run multiplied by something should give me the cost of X, Y and Z. Now for product X, if I want the setup cost of product X, if I want this setup cost of product X, I already know that setup cost is 1000 per run. I need to know that X requires how many production runs. Well, X requires how many production runs? You are given that in the question here. You notice in this table, the number of production runs you are given for X, for Y and for Z, and you are given total 30. The production runs you are given for X is 3, Y requires 7 production runs, Z requires 20 production runs, total production runs is 30. That total 30 is what you divided in calculating absorption rate. That total 30 is the one which you divided over here for calculating the setup rate. Now for calculating the setup cost of XYZ, you need to know the number of production runs used in X, Y and Z. So for product X, Y and Z, your question already tells you how many production runs were used. So production runs product wise you are given as 3, 7 and 20 runs. Just for shorter wordings I will write like this. Setup cost is rupees 1000 per run into just a moment, 1000 per run into 3, 7 and 20 runs. This means that if product X requires 3 times production run, every time you run the production it is costing you 1000 rupees. So if you are running the production 3 times, then it will cost 1000 into 3, 3000. For Y, for product Y, if you are running the production 7 times, each time you run the production it costs you 1000 rupees. So 1000 into 7 it will cost you 7000. And Z requires 20 production runs. Each run is costing 1000 rupees, so that makes it 20,000. But one problem. Do you really think that it is correct to write 3000, 7000, 20,000 here? Doesn't it seem something weird? Weird, like देखो 1 unit of X has material cost of 25, labor cost of 8 rupees, but it has setup cost of 3000 rupees. Doesn't that look like a mismatch? These are very small values, this is very huge value. as compared to the earlier ones. Yes, it seems to be a mismatch because it is absolutely wrong. I will not write 3,000, 7,000, 20,000 here because remember, I want my product cost in terms of per unit. The direct material, direct labor that you are given here is already per unit. The direct material 25, 20 and 11 that you are given, it is direct material per unit. The direct labor that you are given 8, 12 and 6 is the labor cost for 1 unit of XYZ. So the setup cost which I write here should also be the setup cost for 1 unit of X, 1 unit of Y, 1 unit of Z. 3,000 for X which I identified here. This 3,000 is not for 1 unit of X. This 3,000 is for all units of X. If 3,000 is for all units of X, how do I convert that into for 1 unit of X? Simple. If I want to convert this cost into the cost of 1 unit, what I can simply do is divide the number of units. And yes, for that matter, you are given a number of units in the question. Look at the first line in your question table there. You are given a number of units as for X, Y and Z. X, you are producing 30,000 units. Y, you are producing 20,000 units. And Z, you are producing 8,000 units. You are given the number of units for X, Y and Z. Now that you have the number of units, divide units and get the per unit. So for X, what I will do is this: 1,000 per run into 3 runs gives me 3,000. 3,000 divided by 30,000 gives me 0.10 per unit. Similarly for Y, for product Y, it is 1,000 per run into 7 runs makes it 7,000. But 7,000 is not for 1 unit of Y. 7,000 is for all units of Y. So divide the total units 20,000. 7,000 divided by 20,000 makes it 0.35 per unit. And then for Z, 1,000 per run into 20 runs makes it 20,000. 20,000 is for all units. Divide by 8,000 will give you for 1 unit. 20,000 divided by 8,000 units, 2.5. This 0.10, 0.35 and 2.5 is my setup cost for 1 unit of X, Y and Z. Done? Yes. So notice, why did I divide units over here? I divided units here because without dividing units, the cost which I was getting was not the cost of 1 unit, it was the cost of all units. Achha. How do I know that the cost before dividing units was the cost of all units? Like, how do I know that 1,000 into 3,000 is for all units? Well, naturally 3,000 is for all the units because this 3, 7 and 20 runs that I have are the number of runs required for all units. 3, 7 and 20 are the number of runs required for all units. How do I know that? How do I know that 3, 7 and 20 is not for 1 unit of XYZ? It is for all units of XYZ. Well, it is not given in the question. But still, I can know that based on common sense. Yes, what is needed here is simple, plain common sense. We are talking about number of times you have to run the production. We are talking about number of batches of production. So do you think that 1 unit of X requires 3 batches of production? Doesn't that look odd? Do you think that 1 unit of X requires you to run the production 3 times? No, that 3 times 3 runs is not for 1 unit of X. That 3 runs is for all units of X. It means that total 30,000 units of X together requires 3 times production run. Similarly, 7 production runs are needed for producing 1 unit of Y. No, 7 production runs means 7 times you run the production. 7 times you run the production for 1 unit of Y? No, 7 times you run the production for all 20,000 units of Y. Similarly for Z. Done? Yes. Next component, next activity is my machining cost. Your absorption rate, cost driver rate was rupees 10 per machine hour. I'll use that here. So my cost of XYZ can now be identified as rupees 10 per machine hour into machine hours for XYZ. How much machine hours are needed for XYZ? You are told here, dekho, in the very first table, you were given machine hours for the company as a whole total, but you are also given machine hours product wise for X, Y, and Z. That product wise machine hours, this product wise machine hours is what I will use there. 1 unit of X, Y, and Z requires how many machine hours? You are told rupees 10 per machine hour into 1.3333 machine hours, 1 machine hour, and 2 machine hours. And again over here, tell me, will I say divide units just like last time? Well, no, this time you will not do divide units. Why not? Because look, this time you can observe that this time these machine hours that you have, these machine hours that you have 1.331 and 2, is that machine hours for all units of XYZ or is that machine hours for 1 unit? Naturally, you will not say that in 1.33 hours, do you think that in 1.33 hours you have produced all 30,000 units of X? Not possible. In fact, if you produce all 30,000 X in just 1.33 hours, then how come your total hours is 76,000? Not possible. So it is clearly evident here that these machine hours is not for all units. These machine hours given here is for 1 unit only. If this machine hours is for only 1 unit, then this machine hours into 10 rupees, when I do, the cost that I get is the cost for only 1 unit. 1.33 into 10 gives me 13.33 is my cost for 1 unit of X. Similarly, 1 unit of Y requires 1 machine hour. That 1 machine hour costing 10 rupees. So 1 unit of Y requires machining cost of 10 rupees. 1 machine hour into 10 per machine hour. And 1 unit of Z requires 2 machine hours. Each machine hour costing 10 rupees. So total cost 20 rupees. Done? Yes. Well, this is exactly how I need you to try finding the product cost. I've shown you the workings for setup activity and machining activity. Similarly, I want you to try receiving, packaging and engineering activity. You have the rates for receiving, packaging and engineering activity cost. You have the rates and you have the product wise cost driver also. You multiply them and get me the receiving cost of XYZ, packaging cost for XY and Z and engineering cost for XYZ. Only thing I leave for you to decide, only thing that you need to now decide is that whether units must be divided or whether units must not be divided. It depends on whether the cost driver given is for all units or whether the cost driver given is for 1 unit. Done? Yes. Copy this and try 3 more lines, get me the total cost. Try that yourself. Once you try, then I will show my workings on screen. Yes. Look, in my class, I will not give you everything ready-made. In fact, I will instigate you to think the calculations yourself. This is one such calculation I need you to try that. Yes, done. Rest of the three, I will not explain the workings in detail. I'll directly show you the answers. I suggest you pause the video if you are not yet done working. And if you are done, then you continue. Look, this should be your answer. Check out, I've already made the workings here. For receiving, packaging and engineering activity, you had your cost driver rate like this. These were your rates: 1.61611 per receipt, 7812.5 per delivery, and 7460 per production order. These rates you already calculated here. Now in that rates you multiply the cost driver 1611 per receipt into 15, 35 and 20 receipts you are given. But that 15, 35 and 20 are the number of receipts for one unit, or is it for all units? Naturally, just like in my setup cost, here also by common sense I can say this is for all units. Acha, look, in case of setup, I said that 3720 is for all units. How do I know this is for all units? I told you, I know this because of common sense, and I know this also because of the question data. Dekho, 3, 7 and 20 are the production runs for all units of XYZ. That is why 3 plus 7 plus 20 matches with the total 30 given. Yes or no? Yes. But machine hours 1.331 and 2, is that for one unit or is that for all units? This 1.331 and 2, it is not for all units. It is definitely for one unit. That is why if I simply add them up, it does not match with the total. It will match with the total if I multiply units and then add it up. 1.33 into 30,000 plus 1 into 20,000 plus 2 into 8,000. If you add now, then you will get it equal to 76,000. Meaning this 1.331 and 2 is for one unit. Machine hours that you are given here is therefore machine hours for one unit. But the production runs that you are given here, that production runs given here are the ones given for all units. And that is why when I multiply 3, 7 and 20 in my calculation here, this 3, 7, 20, when I multiply, it is for all units. So the cost that you will get will be cost of all units. Divide number of units, then you will get the cost of one unit. Because ultimately you need to find overhead cost on per unit basis. You want your product cost on per unit basis. Done. Yes, same logic goes for receiving cost. 1611 per receipt into 15, 35, 20 receipts. That 15, 35, 15, 35, 20 is not the number of receipts for one unit of XYZ. It is number of units. It is number of receipts for all units of XYZ. Because it is for all units, you need to divide units in there. Yes, so 1611 into 15, 1611 per receipt into 15 receipts gives me total 24,165 divided by units, divided by 30,000 units, makes it 0.8055. I'll make it 0.81. Similarly, second one, 1611 into 35 receipts gives me 56,385 divided by 20,000 units, makes it 2.82. I'm rounding off after two decimals. And the third one, 1611 multiplied by 20 makes it 32,220 divided by units of Z divided by 8,000 is 4.03. Done. Similarly, your packaging the cost, so I'll not show the workings for all now. Similarly, my packaging cost My packaging cost is 7812.5 per delivery into 9, 3 and 20 deliveries. That 9, 3 and 20 are the deliveries for all units. Divide by units will give you per unit here. Engineering cost 7460 per order into 15, 10 and 25 orders. Divide by units will give you for 1 unit. Done. Add them up should give you total cost per unit as 53, 50 and 127. I have written this answer after rounding off the decimals. Done. Yes, I hope you all will be getting the same answers. Please do try out the calculations yourself. That is why at most of places in my sessions, I will give you time in between to try the questions. If that time is not sufficient, please pause the video, take time to solve the question, then continue. Yes, because in my videos, I cannot know that how much will I wait for all. So I will be waiting a general period of time. If you need more time, don't worry, it's okay. You take as much time as you like, but do the calculations yourself. Don't just copy paste from the screen. Done? Yes. Okay. So chalo, that is my product cost per unit as per ABC method here. One more question they have asked it in the question here. That was part B, which I left pending. Now we'll read. Notice part A was asking you to solve by traditional method. We did that. Part C asked you to solve by ABC method. We also did that. Still, we will compare answers of both the methods. Before that, let us finish off part B over here. Part B is basically asking you a mixture method. It is a combination of ABC method and the traditional method. Look, traditional method says that you make a single absorption rate for all overheads. ABC method says that you make separate absorption rate for every component of cost. Well, if you make a separate absorption rate for every single component of cost, then don't you think it will be a very time consuming method? So many different rates you'll have to make because there can be hundreds of components in my cost. Well, that is why there can also be a mixture method where you don't make a single rate for all items of cost, but you also don't make separate rate for each item of cost. In fact, we'll strike a balance. Balance like out of all the components in my cost, say out of 5 components in this cost, I will make separate rate for only 1 or 2 components separately. Rest all components I make a rate together based on machine hours or labor hours. In short, if I have say hundreds of items of cost, then practically it will not be possible to make separate rate for each of those 100 items. It will be very time consuming. So what companies generally do is that if there are 100 different items of cost, then out of 100 items, they make separate rate for say 5-6 different items. Rest all the items they will make a single rate method. This would become a mixture method. Such mixture method is what they have asked in part B. We'll read part B. Compute the product cost using a costing system based on the assumption that the overheads of receiving department are recovered by material handling overhead rate. Now this is new. Material handling overhead rate. Underline that. I'll tell you what does it mean. Material handling overhead rate, meaning your absorption rate should be based on direct material cost. Material handling overhead rate, I'll write the meaning here. That is based on direct material cost. Because look, if a product is using more expensive direct material, then that material has to be handled more carefully. More carefully you handle the material, so material handling will be more. So they are telling you to make the rate based on material handling, meaning based on direct material cost. Which cost they are asking you to do it based on handling? Which cost they are telling this for receiving overheads. So look, as per the question, in the question they have 5 different components of cost, but out of 5 components they have told this for only the receiving cost. How much is the receiving department cost? Receiving department cost is only this 4,35,000. So for this 4,35,000, you make absorption rate which is recovered based on material handling, meaning based on direct material cost. And the remaining overheads, remaining means remaining all other four. Remaining means setup, machining, packaging, engineering, all the other four. Or you can say total minus 4,35,000. That remaining overheads are recovered using machine hour rate. That is company's current costing method, meaning single rate method. This is the kind of mixture they are asking. So as per part B here, they're asking you to make, how many absorption rates? Two absorption rates. Part A, you had one single rate. Part C, you did 5 different rates. Part B, they are asking you to make only 2 absorption rates, a separate rate for receiving activity and a separate rate for all other activities together. Yes, this is what we do. That is a mixed method. So in that mixed method, I will have a separate rate for receiving activity and a separate rate for all others. The total cost of receiving department is 4,35,000. The receiving department budgeted overheads 4,35,000, and all others will be how much? Total 18,48,000 minus receiving cost 4,35,000 makes it 14,13,000. Two separate columns, and in each of them I divide the base. They say that receiving overheads you take based on direct material cost. Now if the rate is made based on direct material cost, then you need to divide total direct material cost. What is total material cost? You are already given here. Dekho, material cost was given for individually XYZ. Material cost total is also given 12,38,000. Use that. Total 12,38,000. And all other overheads they say you take based on machine hours. Machine hours was 76,000. Divide that gives you your absorption rate. For a receiving department, 4,35,000 divided by 12,38,000. Well, if you do that, it gives you 0.3514. It gives you 0.3514. But remember what I showed you in my revision yesterday, that if your absorption rate is made taking rupees divided by rupees, then it is not expressed in terms of rupees per rupee. Instead of writing it like this, you write it in terms of percentage. So instead of writing it as 0.3514 per rupee, I write that in terms of percentage, that is 35.14% of direct material cost. This shows that my receiving overheads is 35.14% of the material cost, while other overheads is simply divide 14,13,000 divided by 76,000 makes it 18.59 per hour. $18.59 per machine hour becomes my cost of other overheads. Now that you have these two rates, Using these two rates, we find the product cost. Yes, product cost is done just like earlier. Direct material, direct labor is given. Overheads will be added based on those two absorption rates. Done? Yes. Start with that. You start writing this, and product cost I will fill up. Yes, and then your product cost will go like this. Product cost, your direct material, direct labor is already given, it remains the same. Overheads will be receiving overheads and other overheads. Receiving overheads we found 35.14% of material cost. Material cost is this 25, 20 and 11. Same 25, 20, 11 I write here. So 35.14% of 25, 20, 11, and other overheads is 18.59 per machine hour into these machine hours. Tell me this time in both these overheads, here, will I divide units? Should I divide units for receiving a cost? No. Why not? Because this 25, 20, 11 material cost is already for 1 unit. Similarly, in my other overheads also, 1.331 and 2 machine hours, these machine hours are already for 1 unit. You don't need to divide units. Yes, you put that, add them up, will give you total cost over here. My answer of total cost written here is already rounded off. Yes, you check your workings, you should get this answer. This completes my question number 1, but this question 1 was only to understand the format. Based on this question 1, now I will give you many more analysis and many more variations in these questions. Yes, so after question 1, we'll go back to your notebook and we will write many notes for analysis and variations of this question. First, you finish writing this. Yes, please, done with that. Yeah. Okay, so after, at the end of this question and now at the end of the page, just write down some reference that now refer notes in classwork book, page number so and so. I told you that in your classwork book you need to keep making page numbers. So in your classwork book, now whatever you write, give that page number reference over here. Done? Yes. Okay. This is my classwork page. Note number 1, write like this. By traditional method, you had your product cost as 61, 74, 38. And under ABC method, you got your product cost as 53, 50, and 127 rounded off. First you copy this table, then I'll tell you what comments we will write, and then I'll dictate you what comments you are supposed to write. Okay, now notice, as per traditional method, you got your product cost of ABC like this, and as per ABC method, this is the product cost you get. You see that the cost that you are getting in both methods are different. And as per my yesterday's explanation, remember which of these two methods is a more accurate, more correct estimate of cost. Ultimately both are estimates, but which will be a more accurate, more correct estimate? Well, better method, you know, is always ABC method. ABC method is always a better estimate of cost. So considering that ABC method answer is a better answer, we will write comments that in spite of ABC method being a better method, still if company follows traditional method, then what will be the problem? Think about it. Say let us go product wise. In case of product A, traditional method is giving you cost estimate of 61. ABC method is giving you cost estimate of 53. So as per ABC method, my product A cost is only 53. So let me say that in reality, the cost of 1 unit of A is only 53. But if you follow traditional method, it is little wrong method, it has error, it has less accuracy. So if you follow traditional method, then you will get cost of A as 61. So I say that as per traditional method, product A is costed more more than its real cost. Okay, so what's the problem? What is the problem if your estimated cost of product A is more? Well, simple. If you estimated higher cost of product A, then because of the higher cost, either you will set a higher selling price, or because of your higher estimate, you will see that product A does not have enough profits. Yes, so because of your product A cost being more, you might decide selling price of product A very high. Or if the selling price is already given, if the market price of these products is already there, you are not deciding market mein there is a market price of product A is say 60 rupees, you estimated cost of A as 61 rupees. So for you believe that product A is loss making, you might decide to stop making product A. Do you think that decision seems correct? No. So look, because of your wrong estimate of cost, your decisions might go wrong. You see that here? Yes. Similarly, product B. What if product B has a market price of 70 rupees, but your cost estimate says that product B cost Your cost estimate says that B is costing 74 rupees. So looking at that, you feel that for you, product B is loss making. You might stop making product B also. Possible? Yes. But in reality, cost of B is only 50 rupees. You made a wrong estimate, because of which your decisions might go wrong. If you use ABC method, you will get a correct value of cost, and then your decisions will not go wrong. If you had used ABC method, you know that in reality cost of B is only 50 rupees, market price is 70. Yes, it is a good product to sell. Do you understand that? Yes, but in product C, the situation is reverse. In product C, the situation is opposite. For example, in product C, let's say for example, the market price of product C is for example 130 rupees. Your cost estimate shows that C is costing 38 rupees. Your cost estimate shows that C is costing only 38 rupees. If you follow traditional method, then your traditional method will show that C is costing 38 rupees. Market selling price of C is 130 rupees. So you are very happy. You start jumping. That, oh good, so C is costing only 38 rupees, I can get selling price of 130 rupees, good, let me sell more and more units of C. So you start ignoring product A and B and you focus on only selling product C, because you see that it is giving huge margin of profit. Is that actually correct? No. You were able to see huge margin of profit because your cost estimate was wrong. In reality, the cost estimate of C is 127. Market price of C is 130. So it as such does not have so much profit. In fact, B is having highest profit, A is having also some profit, C is having the least profit in reality. But because of your wrong estimate of cost, you saw huge profit in C. In short, my conclusion is that ABC is a better method to estimate my product cost. But if the company uses traditional method to estimate cost, if the company uses traditional method in estimating a cost, then there are many problems. Problems like your wrong estimate of cost might lead to wrong understanding of the profit, might lead to wrong setting of the selling price, might lead to wrong decisions regarding stopping and starting a product. It might lead to wrong decisions regarding a cost reduction. Maybe because as per your traditional method, you saw that product B is most expensive, so you try to decrease cost of B. In reality, product C is most expensive, you should do cost reduction in product C. Plus, when you try to do cost reduction, you will feel that cost reduction is done by decreasing the hours. You will try to decrease cost by decreasing production hours. Traditional method will say that your cost will decrease when you decrease the hours. ABC method makes you realize that by decreasing production hours, my cost may not decrease. because majority of my overheads are not depending on production hours. Do you understand that? This is the reality of ABC method. This is what we write in the comments and analysis here. Done? Yes, so we'll be writing down some comments over here, but I think it is almost half time. So as usual, I'll give you a short break and please continue immediately after the break. Immediately after break, I will be dictating you the comments that you need to write here. Done? Yes. Okay, so we'll take a short break, 5 minutes. I will keep a slide over here. You can just pause the video. We'll be continuing after 5 minutes. Done? Yeah. ठीक है. Okay, so we'll continue. We'll continue by first writing down some comments over here in this comparison. I'll dictate, you will write down. So please start writing. Write down. ABC method always gives a more accurate estimate of cost, product cost. ABC method always gives a more accurate estimate of product cost. We'll stop, continue. However, if the company still follows traditional method, if the company still follows traditional method, then the cost estimate is less accurate. Then the cost estimate is less accurate. In such case, the company might face problems as follows. In such case, the company might face problems as follows. Under that first paragraph, write down, for product A and, okay, it is not A and B, my mistake, it is product X and Y. Write down, for product X and Y, for product X and Y, traditional method gives a higher cost estimate. Traditional method gives a higher cost estimate. Stop, continue. Because of this, for these products, the company might set a higher selling price. For these products, the company might set a higher selling price, or, okay, cancel or, company might set a higher selling price which might decrease the demand of the product. Which might decrease the demand of the product. We'll stop, continue. Or because of higher cost estimated, it might appear that these products have less profit. It might appear that these products have less profit. due to which company might decide to discontinue the products. Due to which company might decide to discontinue the products. All this is happening because traditional method wrongly gave a higher estimate of cost. Traditional method wrongly gave a higher estimate of cost. Next paragraph. Next paragraph. For product Z, traditional method gives a lesser cost estimate. Traditional method gives a lesser cost estimate. So accordingly, company might set a lower selling price. Company might set a lower selling price. Then it will not cover the entire real cost. It will not cover the entire real cost of making the product. It might not cover the entire real cost of making the product. Or such product might show very huge profits, or such product might show very huge profits, which might lead to wrong decision making. Which might lead to wrong decision making. Okay, so these are the kind of comments you can write when the question asks you to compare a traditional method, ABC method. In fact, I gave you even more wordings, so you can extend the comments to the extent what you want. Yes, you can extend the comments saying that the profits might be estimated wrong, due to which what decisions can go wrong, or you can say that because of wrong cost estimate your selling price decision might go wrong, due to which what else can go wrong. Wrong selling price will lead to unnecessary increase in demand or decrease in demand, and all that discussions you can make here. Done? Yes, this is how you design the comments in your answer for activity based costing. Also, I'll also write down in the comments that if the company plans to do cost reduction, then traditional method would say that you reduce the cost by decreasing the hours of production. ABC method will make you realize that decreasing hours does not decrease the cost. Rather, ABC method shows you that majority of your overheads are not depending on hours, it is depending on some other factors. So if you wish to decrease the cost, you need to decrease those other factors. Write down. Write it as a new point. You can call it as extra analysis. Now what you're writing is not comparison of these two answers, it is comparison of the two methods. Yeah, write down. If this company wish to do cost reduction, if this company wish to do cost reduction, then traditional method would suggest that decreasing the hours of production, will give decrease in overheads. However, ABC method makes us realize, however, ABC method makes us realize that all overheads are not based on hours. So decreasing hours might not actually decrease all the overheads. So decreasing hours might not actually decrease all overheads. We'll stop, continue. ABC method makes us realize that in order to have a real decrease in overheads, we need to try and decrease. In order to have a real decrease in overheads, we need to try and decrease the cost drivers. We need to try and decrease the cost drivers on which the overheads depend. Okay, so this was my note number 1, that is comparing the both methods, traditional method and ABC method. Next, note number 2. Give a heading like this. Note number 2 is calculation of cost drivers. But under that, don't write anything yet, just wait. Okay, now in this question here, you notice that your machine hours given for product XYZ is like this. Your machine hours given for X is 1.3333. Machine hours of Y is given 1. Machine hours of Z is given as 2. And you are also given the total machine hours in the question. Total machine hours of the entire company is given as 76,000. Yes, now you are given product wise machine hours and you are given the total machine hours. My first discussion here is that where are you using in your calculation, where are you using the total machine hours, where are you using product wise machine hours? Yes, so where in your calculation you are using which machine hours? Notice your product wise machine hours 1.331 and 2. Where did you use that? Product wise machine hours is used over here. It is used for adding overhead cost to the product wise cost. So product wise machine hours is used for adding overhead cost to the product cost. And where did you use that total machine hours 76,000? That total machine hours you used over here while calculating the rate. The first rule, so the first rule that I am giving you is the difference in the usage. Product wise machine hours is used in calculating a cost of the product. It is multiplied in the rate to calculate the cost of each product, while total machine hours is used for calculating the rate itself. Please do not mix up these two. Yes, your product wise machine hours is used in calculating product cost. Total machine hours is used in calculating the rate. Done? Yes. Write down. So my first rule under note number 2. Within note number 2, don't copy this example yet. Instead, you write down one rule that I dictate. I'm dictating. Please write down. Write down. Total cost driver. Total cost driver is used for calculating the cost driver rate. Total cost driver is used for calculating the cost driver rate. So stop. While product wise cost driver is used for adding overheads to product cost. Product wise cost driver is used for adding overheads to product cost. Next point, same note number 2, but next point you write. If the total cost driver is missing in the question, then it can be calculated by taking summation of product wise cost driver. As follows. Now look at this example. Say in this question, in the given question regarding number of production runs, this is what you are given. You are given number of production runs as 3, 7, 20, which is product wise, and the total is already given as 30. My discussion here is that product wise cost driver, this 3, 7 and 20, where do you use it? This 3, 7 and 20 is used for adding overhead cost to product XYZ. And the total cost driver 30, where do you use that 30? 30 is used for calculating the cost driver rate, your setup activity rate. Yes. Now, if the total cost driver is missing, not given, if that total is not given, what will you do? Do you need that total? Yes, you need the total for calculating the rate. If that total is missing, what will you do? Simple. If that total is missing, then product wise cost drivers you add and the summation becomes the total. You add the product wise cost drivers and the summation 30 is what you put over here. Simple. Yes, but observe, in case of machine hours, in the question you are given machine hours like this. You are given machine hours as 1.3333 is the machine hours for X. Y requires 1 machine hour, Z requires 2 machine hours, and total machine hours is given 76,000. But my argument here is that if the total is missing now, For machine hours, if the total is missing, then can you find the total by simply adding machine hours of XYZ? Will it give you the total? No. This time for machine hours, you cannot just add machine hours of XYZ and get the total. No. Why not? Well, you cannot add machine hours to get the total because machine hours given over here is machine hours per unit. Production runs that you were given were production runs for all units. So if the product wise cost driver is given for all units, then you can simply add and make the total. But if the product wise cost driver is given for per unit, can you simply add them up? No. What you need to do is you need to multiply units and then add them up. So this is what we do. You have the machine hours per unit. In these machine hours, you will not add and make the total. Instead, in these machine hours, you multiply units. In this question, how many units of X are you manufacturing? Units of X 30,000. Units of Y is given to 20,000. And units of Z that you are making is 8,000. And now you multiply units into machine hours, it will give you machine hours for all units. So from machine hours of 1 unit, you calculate machine hours for all units. 1 unit of X requires 1.33 machine hours. Then 30,000 units of X will require 1.33 into 30,000 will give you 40,000 hours. 1 unit of Y requires 1 machine hour. So 20,000 units of Y will require 20,000 machine hours. 1 unit of Z requires 2 machine hours. So 8,000 units of Z will require 16,000 machine hours. Now you add them up. 40,000 plus 20,000 plus 16,000 gives you, yes, 76,000. This is how you get 76,000 total machine hours. So this example is just teaching you that if total key factor, if the total cost driver is not given, if the total cost driver is not given, then you can make the summation of product wise cost driver and make the total. In certain cases like production run, you can simply add the product wise cost driver to get the total. But in certain cases like machine hours, you need to multiply units and then add the product wise key factor, product wise cost driver to get the total cost driver. Done? Yes, so both examples you see over here. So depending on whether the cost driver given is of all units, then you simply add them up. If the cost driver given is of 1 unit, then you multiply units, then add it up. Done? Yes, copy this as example within note number 2. Copy this example. Do not copy note number 3, only note number 2 example you copy. Okay, now note number 3. Look at this example. It is continuation of that same discussion. Imagine this is continuation of that same discussion, that number of production runs. For number of production runs, product wise production runs are given 3, 7 and 20. Total production run is given 30. If everything is given, then theek hai, not a problem. If total was missing, if that total was missing, then you can calculate the total by adding the product wise run, because the summation of product wise cost driver should be equal to the total cost driver 30. This is what we learnt in note number 2. Now, what if product wise cost driver is given, X, Y and Z product wise cost drivers are given, total cost driver is also given. Product wise cost driver, these 3, yes, they are given. Even total cost driver, this 30, is also given, but they do not match. Example, say product wise cost driver, product wise production runs I give you is like this: X, Y and Z. The production runs for X, Y and Z. What if I give you this 3, 7 and what if for Z I give you that the production runs is 18? So 3 production runs are used in X, 7 production runs are used in Y and 18 production runs are used in Z. Total production runs in my company is 30. Now what does this mean? So you notice that my summation of product wise cost driver is 28 and the total cost driver given is 30. So my summation of product wise is not equal to the total cost driver. This will happen only and only if both are given. If one of them was missing, if the total was missing, then the summation itself we will take as the total. But if total is given and it does not match with the summation of product wise cost driver, then what does this mean? Well, listen to this. This means that 30 production runs. This means that 30 production runs indicates my company's full capacity, that my company has a capacity of running production 30 times. 28 production runs indicates my used capacity, used or expected to be used. It shows that according to my estimate, according to my plan for the next year, I plan to run 3 production setups. I plan to run production 3 times for X. I plan to run production 7 times for Y, and I plan to run production 18 times for Z. So total only 28 production runs I plan to use. Total only 28 production runs is what I plan to use. 30 production runs is my full capacity that I can use, but maybe I have planned to use only 28 production runs. Why did I plan to use less number of production runs? Why am I planning to do production less than my capacity? Maybe because there is not enough demand. Maybe because I know that this year is going to be a slack season. So because of that, if I already know that my production is going to be less, so I plan to use lesser number of production runs. So what would that difference of 2 production run indicate? The difference 28 to 30, that difference indicates what? Well, that difference will be called as unused capacity. In this case, unused capacity is 2 production runs. that two production runs is called as unused capacity, and we can identify the cost of unused capacity. Now how to do that? Well, notice now in this case when I calculate my cost driver rate, when I calculate my cost driver rate for setup cost, it will be total setup cost divided by total cost driver. Total setup cost was that same 30,000 given in the question, and the total cost driver which I divide here will be what? 28 or 30? No, it will be full 30. The total cost driver which I divide here will be still 30 production runs. So you notice that my earlier rule still remains the same, that total cost driver is used for calculating the rate. Total cost driver, this 30 total cost driver is used in the rate calculation. Accordingly, my rate comes out to be same. My rate still comes out to be same, rupees 1000 per production run. Now this 1000 per production run is added to the product cost. In product X, I will be adding 1000 per run into 3 runs. In product Y, in the cost of product Y, I will be adding 1000 per run into 7 runs. In cost of Z, I will be adding 1000 per run into only 18 runs. So as such, how much cost will go to my product cost? My product cost will take 3, 7 and 18, that is total 28 production runs is the ones that I have used in my production. So 1000 per run into 28 runs goes to my product cost. What about the remaining 2 unused production runs? If 2 production runs I did not use, does it mean I did not incur cost for the same? No, I might have incurred cost for the same still. So for these 2 production runs also which I have not used, for that 2 production runs also cost is incurred, but it was not incurred for producing any product. It is a cost which is waste, because 2 production runs you have wasted, so the cost of those 2 runs is also wasted. That cost is called as my cost of unused capacity. So my cost driver rate 1000 per run. Using that rate, I can identify cost of unused capacity. I can identify cost of unused capacity as 1000 per production run into 2 production runs which are unused. So my cost of unused capacity becomes 2000 rupees. Look, remember one rule that once you make an absorption rate like this, once you make the cost driver rate, then now the same rate will be applicable to all your products. Same rate is applicable to all products, even to new products that you make in your company, even to new design of any product. For every single products in your company, same rate will apply. Hence, for rate calculation, while calculating the rate, you will always divide full capacity. While calculating the rate, you will always divide this full capacity. While calculating the rate, you will always divide the full capacity. Then if your used capacity is less than that, then some cost will remain pending, not added to product cost. That cost becomes your cost of unused capacity. The reason we do this is simply to show the cost of unused capacity separately. Look, the overhead costs added to product X, product Y and product Z, that overhead cost will eventually go to your COP. From COP you will find cost of sales. So ultimately when you make your P&L account. In costing, we call it as costing P&L account. Look, in costing, when I make P&L account, it is called costing P&L account. My costing P&L account basically has only two things. You have sales and the cost of sales. Cost of sales comes from the cost sheet. Yes, so it is just sales and cost of sales. The difference will directly give you the profit. But this 2000, you notice, was not added to product XYZ. This 2000 was the cost pertaining to the two production runs. These two production runs was not used by X, Y or Z. So it will be wrong if I add that cost in X, Y or Z. Whatever cost I have added in product XYZ goes to the cost of production COP of XYZ. From COP eventually you get cost of sales over here. So in this costing P&L, this 2000 rupees cost is still missing. Now you put that cost over here. Cost of unused capacity is shown separately in the P&L. Cost of unused capacity will be shown separately in the P&L because this cost does not pertain to any particular product. It is just shown separately for better presentation of your cost, for better understanding of your cost estimates. If this cost was also put in the product cost, it will give you wrong understanding. Do you understand that? Yes, this is called as my cost of unused capacity. Now, there is one basic condition for having a cost of unused capacity. Cost of unused capacity will come only and only for fixed cost. You will never have this cost for variable cost. Why? Because if the capacity was not used, then variable cost is not incurred. Variable cost varies with the capacity. So the capacity which is not used, for that capacity I don't incur any variable cost. Imagine I have 5 classrooms in these premises, but out of 5 classrooms, 2 classrooms are never used because I don't have so many students. So out of 5 classrooms, if 2 classrooms are never used, then for that unused classroom, will I incur electricity cost, power consumption? No. For that unused classroom, will I incur classroom rent? Yes. So for the unused capacity, you will never incur a variable cost. Variable cost is incurred only if you use that capacity. So a cost of unused capacity will come only and only for fixed cost. This entire concept which I am giving will come only and only if that cost is in reality a fixed cost. Done? Yes. Frankly, in this question, we do not know that whether the setup cost is fixed cost or variable cost. I am giving this example assuming that the setup cost is a fixed cost. Only then this entire story will come. Done? Yes. This is my note number 3, cost of unused capacity. Don't write the example. First, I'll dictate some notes. Write down. Give the heading as cost of unused capacity. Under that, write down only 1 or 2 lines. First we'll write, if the summation of product wise cost drivers, if the summation of product wise cost driver does not match if the summation of product wise cost driver does not match with the total cost driver given, does not match with the total cost driver given, then that difference indicates then the difference indicates cost of unused capacity. Then the difference indicates cost of unused capacity. In such case, we can identify, okay, I'll just repeat, I think I made a mistake. If the summation of product wise cost driver does not match with the total cost driver, then the difference indicates unused capacity. Don't write cost. Difference indicates unused capacity. Difference indicates unused capacity. Continue. Now for this unused capacity, we can calculate cost of unused capacity. For this unused capacity, we can calculate cost of unused capacity as follows. And then start writing this. Yes, we'll scroll. Also write the notes that I have written at the end here. Yes, done. Okay, now based on this explanation, maybe some of you have one particular doubt that if this is cost of unused capacity, then how is this different from under absorption? You remember under absorption? Don't you feel that in under absorption also we had the same kind of story? Intermediate level pe tha. Look, as such, there are no principles of under absorption at final level. But because if you remember something from intermediate level, then I can give you a comparison here. You might say that if my absorption rate was 1000 per run, from which 3 runs cost is absorbed from product X, 7 runs cost is absorbed from product Y, 18 runs cost is absorbed from product Z. Absorbed means recovered. So out of 30 production runs, which is costing me 1000 per run, 1000 per run for 3 runs is recovered from X, 1000 per run for 7 runs is recovered from Y, and 1000 per run from 18 runs is recovered from Z. This means that 1000 per run from 2 runs is not recovered from anyone. Yes, 1000 per run from these 2 runs unused capacity is not recovered from anyone. Hence, I showed that 1000 into 2, 2000 separately in my costing P&L here. Because it is not recovered from anyone, I have to bear the cost. Then doesn't this 2000 also indicate under absorption? Yes, well, in one sense, I can say that cost of unused capacity is very much like under absorption. But there is just one big difference that under absorption is identified at the end of the year. You will get that under absorption when you compare actual, while cost of unused capacity is already estimated, planned at the beginning of the year itself. So it is like at the beginning of the year, imagine that at the beginning of the year, I already know that my full capacity is 30 production runs. But at the beginning of the year, I have already planned since the beginning of the year, I have planned to use only 28 production runs. So these 2 production runs are unused. Did you come to know that at the end of the year? No, this was already planned at the beginning of the year, that you already planned that 2 production runs you will leave unused. Out of 5 classrooms in my premises, I had already planned that 2 classrooms will remain empty. So I already knew that the rent of these 2 classrooms will be a burden for me. Because it is going to be a burden, it is good to show that burden separately so that you can do something about it. It is good to show that burden separately in your profit statement so that you can see that how much money are you losing because of unused capacity. It will give you better decision making then. Yes, while under absorption you will come to know at the end of the year. Like say 30 units was my full capacity estimated. 28 production runs is my used capacity also estimated. What if actual capacity used? What if the actual capacity used turns out to be only 26? Or let me make it 25. If actual capacity used turns out to be only 25, then this difference 25 to 28 will now give you under absorption. because in actual you were able to actually recover the overhead cost from only 25 actual production runs. You were able to actually recover the overheads only from 25 actual production runs. So 3 production runs overheads you could not recover, that becomes your under absorption. In short, the difference is that unused capacity cost is already estimated, while under absorption does not come in estimate. Under absorption comes in actual only. Done? Yes. Okay, so that is my cost of unused capacity. That is my note number 3. And regarding under absorption, I am not making you write any notes because at final level we are not having under absorption almost anywhere. Clear? Yes. Okay, so that gives you almost everything that you need to know regarding activity based costing. Next few questions is just plain simple practice. Yes, my next question, question number 3, has one important practice, that is what we learned in my note number 2. Note number 2, I told you that if the total cost driver is missing, then you can find that by taking summation of product wise cost driver. Question number 3 is the question where you are given product wise cost driver but total column is missing. If the total column is missing, we will make working note 1 to identify that total, and once you have the total, then you follow same method like we did in question 2. Done? Yes. Check out question number 3. Page number 1.26, question number 3. We'll read together, chalo. You have been appointed as a management consultant of XYZ Limited, a key manufacturer of machine tools. You need to analyze how application of ABC method to the costing of the company's product lines would improve product costing and help it price its product offering in a more efficient manner. So notice the company is following the ABC method. For what purpose? You are following ABC method to improve product costing so that it will help you price your product offerings in more efficient manner. So ultimately this means that you are finding product cost in order to set the selling price. This is a company where selling price is not market price. Selling price is decided by the company. Look, half your work will be done if you read the question very clearly. Based on the wordings of the question, you will get to know what will you write in your comments and analysis. Look, calculation wise almost every question may be the same, but your comments and analysis will be different in all the situations. Here in this question, after calculating traditional method and ABC method, when I compare these two methods, at the time of comparing your answers of both methods, that time you remember that this company does not have market price as selling price. Rather, this company is deciding its own selling price. Based on this sentence, I can say that. Yeah. So based on this sentence, I can say that in this company, therefore, selling price is not equal to the market price. Rather, selling price is decided by the company. Selling price is decided by my company itself. Yeah. Okay. You're given details of 4 products and the relevant information for one period is as follows. You're given output units of product PQRS. You're given cost per unit, direct material, direct labor and machine hours. So you notice again that direct material, direct labor for all products are already given. Direct material, direct labor per unit is already given, but overheads you will not be given. You need to find. Machine hours you are given per unit. Machine hours that you are given is per unit. Now if machine hours you are given for 1 unit of P, Q, R and S, but like the previous question, are you given a total machine hours already given? No. What will you do? You need to find. How will you find? Well, machine hours per unit into number of units will give you machine hours of all units, then you add it up. Chalo, let us do that orally. Then if you need, we'll make a working note here. To do that orally, I'll just put one extra column here to identify the total, that total machine hours. How will I get it? Just like I explained you in my note number 2, for product P, 1 unit of P requires 5 machine hours. You are producing 150 such units of P. So 5 machine hours into 150 units, 5 into 150, 750. 1 unit of Q requires 4 machine hours. You are making 120 such units. So 4 into 120, 480. 1 unit of R requires 3 machine hours. You are making 60 such units. 3 into 60, 180. And last one, 2 into 90, 180. Total 1590. Yes, total machine hours you therefore get is 1590. 1590 becomes your total machine hours. Total was not given. This is how you find. This is what we learned in note number 2. Done? Yeah. Further, the 4 products are similar and are usually produced in production runs of 15 units. Underline. Production runs of 15 units. So look, for each of the products, are you given number of production runs? No. But you are told that my production run will be of batch size 15 units. Remember the first example that I had given you yesterday? That number of batches I have not given, but the batch size is given. Batch size for production is 15 units. Now think, if my production batch size is 15 units, then for 150 units of P, how many number of batches will I have to run? 150 divided by 15, 10 batches you will have to run. That 10 batches is your number of production runs. So, in short, using this information, we will find number of production runs in PQRS and the total. Similarly, you are also told that the products are sold in batches of 10 units. So look, production batches, production number of batches I can find using this, while sales number of batches I can find using this. So chalo, for that finding of all these missing items, I will give you working note 1. As such, you can do that orally also here. But chalo, just because this is starting of the syllabus, I'm giving you one working note 1. You'll have to copy that in your book. First, let us finish reading the question. Read further. The production overheads is currently absorbed by using machine hour rate method. Underline. Overheads is currently absorbed using machine hour rate. That is a single rate method. So total overheads will be divided by total machine hours. What is total machine hours? Well, now you know. Total machine hours is here 1590. What is total overheads? Now you are given. Total overheads you are now given here. Dekho. Total overheads, machine department cost, rent, business rates, depreciation, etc. etc. ठीक है. So machine cost you are given 18,960. Setup cost you are given 5,600. Stores receiving cost 4,000. Inspection quality control 1620. Material handling 7980. In short, you are given 5 items of cost. 5 items are needed for ABC method. 5 activities. But for traditional method, what you need is total. So let us add up all and get the total. Add all the 5 items, get me the total here. If you add all these items, 18,960 plus 5,600 plus 4,000 plus 1620 and plus 7980 gives you 38,160 as the total. 38,160 is my total of all 5 items. 38,160 becomes my total overheads. So look, my traditional method is very clear now. 38,160 total overheads divided by total machine hours 1590. Total overheads 38,160 divided by total machine hours 1590 should give you rate of 24 per machine hour. This 24 per machine hour is then used for adding overhead cost to product PQRS. Simple. Done? Yes, because this is almost like question 1. Hence, you notice in this question, I have already given you the solution. Only some working notes I will make you write in your notebooks. Look at the solution given there. Under traditional method, we are done with everything. Traditional method was pretty simple. Budgeted overheads we found, adding all of them, is 38,160. Budgeted base, that is total machine hours, we found by calculating. In fact, we'll show that in working note 1. Budgeted machine hours 1590. I'll show the working in working note 1. Divide that, it gives you absorption rate 24 per machine hour. Then direct material, direct labor of PQRS is already given. Overheads I add in PQRS at the rate 24 per machine hour into 5432 machine hours. 5432 you are given. Done. Well, that gives you cost per unit of PQRS as per traditional method. Pretty simple. Yes. But going back, chalo, for ABC method, you now see that for activity based costing method, this question contains 5 different activities. And for each of that activity, you need a cost driver. Well, they have already mentioned which cost driver should you use. Dekho, they have said that for setup cost, meaning this 5,600, the cost driver should be number of production runs. Are you given a number of production runs? No. So we will find the number of production runs in working note 1. Cost driver is not given, you need to find. Yeah. Second, stores receiving activity, meaning this receiving activity costing 4,000 rupees. For that, the cost driver should be the number of requisitions raised. Are you given the number of requisitions raised? Well, we don't know. So far it is not given. Okay. Third, inspection and quality control, meaning this activity which is costing 1620. For that, they say cost driver should be number of production runs. Same, matlab this number of production runs, we'll find that in working note 1. And the fourth is material handling and dispatch activity, meaning this activity costing 7980. For that, they say that cost driver should be the orders executed. Which orders? Look, when I say dispatch, what do you dispatch? Raw material or finished goods? Dispatch means the finished goods. Dispatch you do when you sell. So when they say orders executed, meaning sales orders executed. Are you given the number of sales orders executed? No. That also we need to find from working note 1. Notice you were already given the batch size of production runs and you're also given the sales batch size. Using that, you can find the number of production runs. You'll also find the number of sales orders. Yes. Still they have clarified. Dekho. They say that number of requisitions raised on the stores was 20 for each product. So look, this requisitions raised that you thought it is missing. Now you know it is not missing. It is given over here. Requisitions raised is 20 for each product. So 20, 20, 20, 20. Total 80. And the number of orders executed was 42. Each order being for a batch of 10 units of a product. Well, now you see that orders executed is also given. Orders executed is given here. The number of orders executed was 42. Each order being for a batch of 10 units of a product. Using that, you can find orders executed for each product XYZ, each product PQRS. Again, I'll show that in working note 1. Done? Yes. So, required part, you are asked to calculate total cost for each product if overhead costs are absorbed on machine hour basis, meaning traditional method. Calculate total cost of each product using activity based costing. But before that, I need to show you working note 1. And third, they're asking you compare the two costs under the two scenarios and identify implications this could have on pricing and profit. Well, part C, I am not giving you answer because the exact wordings I gave you in question 1. Done. Part C is the theory part. I already made you write. I dictated you the comparison and the wordings that you should write in comparison. Accordingly, you will draft your comparison here. Done. Yes, I will be helping you only for working note 1. Notice for this question, this is how you'll make your working note. Asha, and before you start making the working note, do remember this is what you do. After the question here, write down, refer. In fact, before your answer, you write down. For the solution here, you write down here, refer working note 1 in classwork book, page number so and so. Yeah, you have to write page numbers in your book and accordingly give the cross reference here. So go to your page number, go to your book, and we'll make a working note there. Question 3, working note 1 is regarding calculation of cost drivers. This is how I'm designing my note. I'll put point numbers in each point so that I can use it in my reference. Units is 150, 120, 60 and 90. Second point, machine hours per unit, you are given 5432. So therefore third point, machine hours for all units will be multiplication of these two, that is point number 1 into point number 2. I hope you'll understand the calculations that I'm explaining like this here. Point number 1 into point number 2, we put that as machine hours for all units. That is how you get total 1590. Okay. Next, you are also given the production batch size. Production batch size is given 15 units. If the production run size is 15 units, then I can find number of production runs. How do I do that? We'll do it like this. Total units that you need to make divided by production runs is 15 units per production run. So in one production run, if you can make 15 units, then in product P for 150 units, you will have to run production how many times? 150 divided by 15, that is 10 times. 120 divided by 15 is 8 times. 60 divided by 15, 15 4s are 60 and 15 5s are 90. 15 6 are 90, sorry. Add them up, that is 6, 4, 10 and 10, 20, 28. 28 is my total number of production runs. Where will I use this? Production runs I will use for my setup cost. Yeah, you are told in the question that setup cost is based on number of production runs. Also, inspection and quality control cost is based on production runs given in the question. Yeah. Also, we need to find the sales orders executed. That also now I can easily find, because number of orders executed will be your point number 1, units, divided by one order is of 10 units of a product. So if each sales order is of 10 units, then for 150 units of P, all I need to do is divide 10 units per order. 150 divided by 10 is 15 units per order, 12 units, 6 units and 9 units. 15, 12, 6 and 9. Total you will get is 42. Yes, it matches with the total 42 that is already given. Yes, there is one more cost driver that you need, that is requisitions raised. Number of requisitions, but that number of requisitions is already given. You're already told that number of requisitions are 20 for each product. So 20, 20, 20, 20. Total 80. Simple. Clear? Yes. Okay. This is, I think, all we need in our working note 1. All the cost drivers now we have. So these cost drivers, I will then show you that how are they used in the calculation of ABC method. First, finish writing this, and this will be in your notebook. Please do give the cross reference in your file. Yes, should be done. Now, all these workings that we have made here, these will be used in my ABC method, in the activity based costing method. Let's see. Again, for that, you're already given the solution. I'll just show you the solution here. So look, as per ABC method, you have 5 different activities. That is machine department cost, setup cost, your stores receiving cost, inspection cost, and material handling cost. Now look, out of the 5 activities in the question, your cost driver is already given for 4 activities. One activity or base is not given. Let's find out which activity base is not given. You're already given the base for setup, stores, inspection, and material handling. Setup, stores, inspection, and material handling. You're already given the cost driver for these 4 activities. For these 4 activities, cost driver is given. So what about machine department cost? What should be the cost driver? They have not given. Well, if they have not given, use your brains. For machine department cost, for routine machine cost, what should be the cost driver? For routine machine related cost, your cost driver should be definitely the machine hours. That one cost driver you decide, rest 4 cost drivers are already given. So now you have 5 activities, and for each of the 5 activities, cost drivers, you know. So machine cost based on machine hours, cost divided by 1590 machine hours. Setup cost based on production runs. You found production runs in your working note. You found the total number of production runs as 28 in your working note. That is what we used over here. Divide by 28 production runs. Storage cost is based on a number of requisitions. Total was 80 requisitions. Inspection is again based on production runs, same 28. And material handling is based on your sales orders executed. Orders executed total was given 42. Divide that, it gives you the cost driver rates, and then using that rates you find the product cost. Again, while finding product cost, direct material, direct labor is already given, but overheads is added under 5 categories there. Yes, but in that 5 categories, देखो first machine overheads, I take the rate multiply by machine hours, but in that will I divide units there? No. Why not? Because machine hours that you have 5432, these machine hours are already machine hours for 1 unit only. You don't need to divide units. But for setup cost, your rate 200 per run multiply by 10846 production runs. This 10846 production runs. These production runs is not for 1 unit. It is for all units. That is why adding them up directly gave you the total. So 10 production runs are needed for all units of P. If I want the cost for 1 unit of P, if I want cost for 1 unit of P, you need to divide units. Similarly, requisitions given are for all units, production runs are for all units, sales orders are for all units. So for all of them, you had to divide units to get the cost for per unit. All that remains same what we discussed in question number 2. Done? Yes, because my calculations here are same as question number 2. Hence, I have already given you that with solution. The only thing new was your calculation of cost drivers. For that calculation of cost drivers, I told you to make working note 1. Done? Yes. So again, this was a practice for activity based costing. This covers almost all concepts related to activity based costing. Still, I have 2 more questions in the book which we will be discussing. But yes, we are almost done with the time. We'll be discussing those 2 more questions in the next session. But these questions cover all concepts about activity based costing. Done? Yes. Okay. Okay, that is the end of my session right now, and hope you are revising on a daily basis. Keep revising. We'll continue this in my next session. Done? Thank you very much. Bye bye.